All right, let's call this meeting to order. This is Monday, June 1st. I'd like to welcome everyone to this meeting. If you call in, the city clerk will put you in line and we'll wait. I'll give you a minute to get everything queued up. If you have any questions or comments during these proceedings. I'll ask for the Pledge of Allegiance at this time.
You want to stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
to the republic
to which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. I'll ask for the roll call, please.
Cedar,
Here.
Ellery,
Here.
Kinsfater,
Here.
Kufa,
Here.
Laporte,
Here.
McCartney,
Here.
Watt,
Here.
all present, Your Honor.
Thank you. We'll go to consent agenda number 4, City Council minutes of May 18th, 2020, regular meeting, recommendation approved.
So moved.
Are there any questions? Call the roll, please.
Ellery,
Yes.
Kinsfater,
Yes.
Kufa,
Yes.
Laporte,
Yes.
McCartney,
Yes.
Watt,
Yes.
Cedar,
Yes.
carried, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Let's go to number 5, ordinances resolution A, resolution 2011 adopting 2020-21 fiscal year budget, millage levy and appropriations act. Mr. Rothy.
Yes, members of council, before you tonight is the resolution that is the mechanism by which the city council adopts the 2020-2021 fiscal year budget that we went over in length at our last meeting. There have been no changes to any of the dollar amounts or anything. So again, this is just the next part in the process to adopting the budget. I will continue speaking on the fee schedule. This resolution also adopts the fee schedule, which is included as part of the resolution. And something that we're going to vote on next is resolution 2012, which basically establishes an escrow fee policy for zoning. So I'm going to speak on that resolution right now as well, just to give us the full picture on what both of these resolutions are doing. So again, the first one adopts the budget, and the second one basically implements proposed changes to the fee schedule by establishing a zoning escrow fee policy. And when I went through the schedule of fees during the budget process, I noticed that we had, and I've counted, we had over 14 different charges for reviewing various developments, whether it's a multifamily, commercial, office space. Depending on the size of that, there was a different fee. And it seemed like the fee schedule was, it's the product of when a new use came up, a new fee was generated. So we have a piecemeal fee schedule where at the end of the day, there's essentially a fixed cost regardless of the type of application. And then, so the proposed resolution 2012 creates a basic fee schedule which simplifies and reduces the number of fees that we have for different developments, while also establishing what's known as an escrow account. And before I talk about the escrow account, I'll also say that when a developer comes to the Planning Commission or ZBA and needs review, the city often retains the services of the city attorney, the city engineer, or the city planner. And again, they bill the city by the hour for their review costs in order to allow the Planning Commission to make their decisions. Now, applicants are currently responsible for the costs of the attorney's time, the planner's time, the engineer's time, so again, that has not changed. The applicant still bears those costs. What's different though is this new policy would require the applicant to establish an escrow account with the city, whereas the minimum escrow is $1,500, and the city would then, as it hires consultants and uses engineering services, it would then draw from that established escrow account. And at the end of the review process, whether the application was approved or rejected by the Planning Commission or ZBA or City Council, that money would be, 100% refunded back to the applicant. And again, I think this will also help with, a lot of times it takes time for us to, after the city gets the bill from the engineer, by the time we send it out to the applicant and we receive payments, this would ensure that those payments are made in a little bit more timely manner, and it's a little bit transparent for all parties. So again, there's a lot of just policy and procedural language in the escrow fee resolution. But again, that's the motivation for it, is to simplify this fee schedule and just make it more easy to administer, and also more transparent, equitable this distribution of charges to the various applicants the city may have. So that's really all I have on those two resolutions. I'd be happy to answer any questions now.
I have a quick question, Your Honor. On the fee schedule, is that the schedule that the vendor is giving to the city and just passed on to the applicant?
I'm afraid I don't.
If the contractor, say the city attorney or the city engineer, would give us the city a bill, is it their flat fee? Do we add any administrative fee or anything on it, or no?
No, for the zoning review process, there would be, for instance, for a site plan review, there's a flat fee of $400, and that covers basically the internal administrative costs of the city, as well as sending out all the required public notices to nearby property owners. So that's what that $400 covers. The escrow account would cover any additional costs. So if they're from engineering, legal, also if multiple special meetings have to be held and more notices of the public hearings have to go out, that escrow account would be able to pay for those as well.
Okay, all right, I understand. Are we gonna do these resolutions separately?
Yes.
Separately.
I have a question. With the service fees, now is that part of 2011? I mean, is that going to be part of the resolution? Or is that part of 2012? I'm not understanding where that fits in with the resolutions.
What do you mean by service fees?
The office fees, all the fees that you get that we have here, where is that tying in with the budget, with the escrow?
The first resolution, 2011, adopts the fee schedule. Included in the fee schedule, you'll see, particularly in the building and planning and zoning section, the fees in the fee schedule are listed, and it says plus escrow. And basically, as long as you adopt these simultaneously, the end result is still the same, and both will be implemented at the same time.
Okay, so then every time the harbor wants to change their fees or whatever, then we got to come back to council. The Pine Shores, they have to come back to council to change these fees then?
Yes. The fee schedule is typically only updated once annually, and all the departments had the opportunity in the last few months to revise any fees that they saw fit. And again, we didn't really have any at all proposed fee increases or decreases. The biggest change was to the planning and zoning escrow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so are we gonna start with 2011?
I'll
Your
make a
Honor.
motion to approve that.
That's the first one, A, Resolution 2011 fiscal year budget.
Yeah.
Butch made the motion, I'll second it. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, the motion's been made and supported. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I got one. On the recreation department, it's got under tuition, 4 and 5, resident, $90, non-resident, $75. You think that might be turned around?
Let me take a look.
Typo?
Sounds like it.
Yes, that would be a typo.
Okay.
I don't see it.
I don't see that either.
Yeah, where are you looking? I don't see it either.
Under Recreation Department.
Recreation department,
Creative Tots.
yes. The last section,
All right, I do see it. Okay.
Good eye, Ellery.
So is a motion made?
Motion has been made and seconded.
Did it include the correction?
Councilmember Kinsvater would have to make that amendment and it would have to be
I will
supported.
make that part of my motion to amend that, change the recreation creative tots fee schedule.
No support.
All right, those motions have been made, supported. Questions, comments? Anything from the public?
If you are calling in, as a reminder, use *9 if you have any questions or comments. I see no questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Call the roll, please.
Kinsfater,
Yes.
Kufa,
Yes.
Laporte,
Yes.
McCartney,
Yeah.
Watt,
Yes.
Ellery,
Yes.
Cedar.
Yes,
Carried, Your Honor.
thank you. Let's go to B, Resolution 2012, establishing a zoning escrow fee policy.
Motion
Motion.
to approve.
Support.
All right, the motion is made, supported. Questions or comments?
Who made the motion, please?
I did.
Thank you.
Kinsvater.
Anything from the public?
See no comments, Your Honor.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Kufa,
Yes.
Laporte,
Yes.
McCartney.
Yeah.
Watt,
Yes.
Ellery,
Yes.
Kinsfater,
Yes.
Cedar.
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
All right, we'll go to reports administration. A, City Superintendent, Mr. Rothie.
Yes, few items from my reports today. First, some good revenue news. The state of Michigan, there's a program by which the local community stabilization authority, based on a ballot initiative that was passed by statewide voters in 2014, creates this what's called personal property tax reimbursement payments. And the city receives these payments every October. And about 2 fiscal years ago, the program was changed, and an additional payment is now received by the city each May. Now, this payment can fluctuate greatly. Some years it can be higher, some years it can be lower. I don't quite understand all the moving parts to how this extra payment in May comes about. But this year's payment should be enough to cover most, if not all, of the anticipated reduction in state revenue sharing for the remainder of this fiscal year. So it's very good news for the city's financial position. We already were in a very strong position with a very healthy fund balance of over 5 times the minimum required amount. And again, this revenue source, which can fluctuate, so we budget very conservatively. That was what was done in the past with Superintendent Booth. This extra payment should offset most, if not all, of the revenue sharing reductions we will receive for the current fiscal year. Obviously, we're anticipating to have less next year than we did this year, but this payment should offset. Secondly, the City Hall parking lot project construction will begin this Wednesday, is anticipated to wrap up by the end of the week, weather permitting. So when we do reopen City Hall, which will be probably next week or with a few days, give or take a few days with all the new executive order changes, just want to make sure we're implementing everything safely. Our City Hall visitors will be able to have a new parking lot when they come visit us in City Hall. Secondly, road projects. At the next City Council meeting, it's anticipated that the bid for St. Clair Highway will be awarded, as well as the bid for the reconstruction projects on Cass and 3rd Street. So anticipate that at your next council meeting. Plexiglass was installed in City Hall to act as a safety buffer for when we do reopen to the public. So we're taking those precautions, getting hand sanitizer all set up and stuff, so that when members of the public can come in, they can feel safe, and so can city staff. I made an appearance on CTV last week talking about the budget and just fun tax facts. If there are such a thing as fun tax facts, I encourage all of you to watch it. As well as the water plants, we talked about the need for improvements. I distributed a memo written by our interim operator in charge on the need for improvements, and we've solicited proposals from engineering firms to essentially look at our needs list and figure out what is the best things to handle first and in what way to do so. Those proposals from the two engineering firms, we reached out to multiple firms, I think 4 or 6, only 2 were interested in the project and then to have the necessary expertise. We will be getting both of those proposals next week. No, I'm sorry, June 10th. So the second meeting of June is when we'll have a more extended discussion on the pending water plant improvements. Lastly, just with the restaurants opening up at limited capacity and other business things going on, as everything comes back to the new normal, some of you have expressed interest in some cities are doing extended outdoor seating, things like that, making accommodations with things like that. And again, that's something that likely can be copied or implemented in some way, shape, or form in the city of St. Clair. The thing that I would ask from our business community is if you're operating and you need to operate under the new normal, to please reach out to the city and tell us exactly what you need and make those specific requests so that we can try and implement those things and help our business community out that much quicker. And with that, I have nothing else for my report this evening.
Questions from Mr. Bolte?
I do have a question, Your Honor. Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I have has there any progress with the reconstruction of the roads in the Woodland subdivision?
That issue has essentially been on the back burner since kind of COVID-19 started. I think the time is right to move forward with that. We could meet as a council and discuss that further. And I'll have some more cost estimates on basically where we last left it. The engineer proposed cost estimates for the fix, and I was directed to basically create a few special assessment roles that would be able to identify, depending on how much of the cost, if the council wanted to do a special assessment, how much each of those property owners would be assessed and have to pay. I have that built and that is ready to go, so we can have a discussion on that in the near future.
Thank you.
I also have a question, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Warren, I talked to Bob Beath today about St. Clair Highway, and last time that I heard about this was going to be, they were going to take care of that, the city, and he said it ended up being a little bit bigger job than what they wanted, and he said that there is going to be bids taken. I just want to make sure that it doesn't get put on the back burner and then we get this taken care of this year.
No, and to reassure you, Councilman Watt, the bids were actually, we reached out to local contractors with a sealed bid invitation, and those bids were actually opened earlier today. I thought they were going to be opened tomorrow on Tuesday, which is why they were not on the agenda this evening. That was a miscommunication. So we do actually already have the bids, and the same local contractors are bidding on, or have at least have the opportunity to bid on the 2020 street projects, which include Cass and Third. So again, I think it would make most sense to award those all at once at our next meeting. But yeah, that absolutely will be done this year.
Awesome. Thank you.
Real quick, I've got 2 questions. One, what's the status on the parking lot for Pine Street?
Bob Beath told me today that they would be doing the asphalt paving, if not tomorrow, the day after should be. So that should be wrapped up this week or early next week as well.
Okay, and then my second question is, what is actually required from the business owners for additional requirements for outdoor seating and whatnot for the city?
That is a question I don't have the answer to yet. I think that would, if business owners want, or any member of the business want to talk about how best to implement that, I think a conversation outside of a council meeting would be the most appropriate way to do that. I'm not familiar with all the requirements or hoops to jump through off the top of my head.
Is there actual requirements to have outdoor seating? I mean, I know they have to file for an MLCC liquor license, outdoor permit, and get approved from the city police department. What else needs to be done?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Rich, that's a good question because that relates to my question. And my question was to Jim Downey and Tim Raker, since you're here, and Warren, and we've talked about this already, but gentlemen, anyone, what can the city do so that when things start opening up as it appears it is going to, what can we do to fast track, help our businesses to get this outdoor seating, to create these zones Butch had mentioned to me? What are they called, Butch?
Social districting.
Yes.
Social districts.
Social districts.
Social districts.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm hoping that between Mr. Raker and Downey and Rothy and us, we can come up with something that we can help our businesses get this thing moving as quickly as possible for them. They've endured enough hardship. It looks as though the doors open a little bit. I want to be ready to go when this is really can go.
And I think
Well,
that what you're saying there, Mayor, maybe we can lighten up on the restrictions in the city parks a little bit too.
Well, that could be one of the districts, I believe. I'm sorry, Mr. Downey.
Well, I was just going to respond to the mayor's point, Mr. Laporte. There are tools available in the city code that allow council to relax open intoxicant restrictions, and that might pertain to outdoor seating where an establishment has a liquor license and they wish to, provide alcoholic beverages outside the four walls of the building. It's something we probably work with the city's insurer on as well. But there's certainly devices on the books right now that would allow council to make those accommodations. But to Mr. Rothy's point, I think what the city would require is some sort of a plan from the restaurants or other establishments that are seeking that help, that relief from the city, so we know exactly what it is they're striving for, so we can make sure that the necessary permits have been granted or authorizations from the LCC or what have you been received. So
Can we just submit those, Mr. Downey?
I think that's the start. If it's submitted to the city and we know what it is that the particular business is looking to do, we can assess it upon receipt.
Sure.
And how long will we let them do this?
I have a suggestion. I saw earlier, I didn't look into it. There's something with the Liquor Control Commission that does allow for some type of temporary outdoor license thing. And that the state's program, again, I haven't looked into it. They have an FAQ on their main webpage for it. So if you are a business owner and interested in that, I highly encourage you to take a look. Have a liquor license, but that expiration date is October 1st, 2020. So ultimately, it's up to council, but it looks like October 1st, at least for liquor control, that's the date that they're using right now for this new temporary outdoor thing, which, again, I just learned about this within the last 2 hours. So not.
Is it October 1st or October 31st?
October 1st.
It's typically what the Voyager does for offshore race. We extend our outdoor service, and there's a list of criteria that you have to meet for it. It's pretty simple.
Can I jump in real quick on the social distancing versus social districting? There is no, now that the governor came out today with the 100-person versus 10-person outdoors and all that, I think they're dumping that whole social districting thing. As long as you can keep in groups of 100, which I think all the restaurants, that would be very good versus being closed, right? That's all they're requiring is you keep the groups to 100 at a time. So that's what they're looking at right now. And that starts today, or I'm sorry, that starts on the 8th.
I believe I saw something in her order where she, was it a recommendation or a requirement where she needs tables 6 feet apart?
I'd have to look at the table requirement. I have it open right now. I was trying to look through it as you guys were talking, but that's only for non-family units. So it's groups of 100, but while you guys are still talking about it, I'll look up tables itself.
Well, if I can help out Mr. Westmiller, I can direct the legal advice to the city on this topic, and we'll do that in the coming days.
Yeah. I was just talking about the 100 people and everything, so.
I got one more question. When can we start reopening the playgrounds in the parks?
Today.
That's you said today, Justin?
Yeah, that was immediate.
Okay.
So as long as it's under 100 people, we can attend parks and playgrounds?
Yeah. So the way the health department and I had a meeting today on that, Doc and I talked. Basically, as soon as the governor opened that today, it is what it is, right? So that will be something that will be so hard to do anything about that they're open.
And even before today, I anticipated opening the playgrounds within the next 2 weeks. So
Yeah. No, the governor opened them today.
everything's been
I
expedited.
got another hypothetical question for you.
Okay.
So gyms were allowed to have outdoor classes, but aren't allowed indoor classes. So
Correct.
if, let's say a gym had a class of 15 people, they can have that class because it's under 100 people. Do they still have to be 6 feet apart?
Yes, they do.
Okay. So social distancing is still in effect.
Yes, very much so. So are masks. So are wiping everything down. All of that stuff is, all the proper PPE, all that stuff is still in effect. It did not go away.
So with that being said, Justin, what's the procedures at the playground for, are we supposed to hire somebody to constantly be cleaning this equipment, or is that the people themselves are supposed to wipe it down before they use it? What's the policy there?
So that's not a realistic thing, right? I would say clean it as much as your DPW can do so in some sort of normal reality, but everybody knows that that'll be very difficult to do. So the best thing to do is to tell all of your citizens, as soon as they're done, throw some hand sanitizer on, right? It's up to the individuals to clean themselves as soon as they're done using it. That's the safest way to get through this. Because the DPW or a park and rec person is not going to be out there hosing that thing down with hydrogen peroxide every time someone touches it. That's not the way this is going to work. So it's up to the individual users to clean themselves every time they're done touching something.
All right, Chief Raker, you got anything on this?
Excuse me?
You got anything, Chief, on this?
No, I think the social, the outside drinking, that's taken care of through MLCC, and there's actually a state rep out of Rochester Hills working on some other things to help bars out, but that bill has to get passed, but they're working on it.
All right. Mr. Laporte?
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right, anybody else? Warren, do you want to mention Range Road?
Yes, there's a closure.
Yes,
Down to one.
I just learned about this project today myself. I did not realize that the county was resurfacing part of it. Looks like it'll be nice to drive on afterwards. And again, I know nothing more than the notice I got today from the County Road Commission.
I think it's Davis to Kearney, and I think they're still going to keep one lane open, but just so people are aware.
That's till the 12th.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else for Mr. Rothy?
Well, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but going back to, I know the chief and the attorney both said to wait and see if the laws get passed. But as far as the city park, that's something we can do. As far as somebody wants to get a sandwich and have a drink while they're sitting in the park, that's something that we can do. Can we get working on that or expedite that instead of waiting for the state to okay whatever they're gonna okay?
Well, just to clarify, Member Kinsvater, the state would have no authority on that at all. That's exclusively in the province of the city council to make that waiver in the city park. And it would simply be a resolution. For example, by way of comparison, I know that the city of Algonac is considering a resolution tomorrow night. They're having music in the park. They have bands coming in throughout the summer. They're going to do that with social distancing. They're going to suspend their prohibition on consumption of alcohol for 3 hours every night they're hosting this music festival. So people can come to the park with a cooler and consume alcoholic beverages. It's not a violation of the law. So it's simply a matter of putting together a resolution that that reflects the council's wishes, and we can get that in front of the council at the next meeting.
Councilman Kinsvater, the bill I was talking about is they're looking at making, like, say you buy a beer at the Voyager and you can walk into the park. They're looking at opening it up so that you can purchase a beer at whatever establishment and take that open drink out into a public park.
Yeah, I think that's what they were calling the social districting. Have a
Right.
social district and sort of integrate from
But
business to business. Yeah.
like Mr. Yeah, I think you can do the closed, but
Well, I don't,
I'd like to get working on the parks. I would myself. I mean, even if we did something until October 1st or whatever, do something temporary until these business. I mean, if it can help the businesses just a little bit, I'm all behind it.
I don't think the intent was that they could take a whole cooler down into the park. That was to encourage them to walk the district from establishment to establishment. That,
Sure.
right.
you know, it needs to be clarified.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to bring a cooler, why don't you just let them bring a cooler? I think you're. I think that's. I mean, I think.
Oh, girl.
But I don't know. Do we need to give some direction to the superintendent, lawyer, or whatever? But I mean, I'll make a motion to get working on it anyway.
I'll
Are
support
you
that.
talking, Butch, are you talking about the park? Are you talking
Yeah,
going
I'm
from
talking about the park.
establishment to establishment also, or just the park?
I think to do a staff, if we can do that, I'd be behind it. But I think that's something that's got to come down from the state. I think that's what I'm getting from the attorney and from the chief.
That's correct. We
Yeah.
control the parks.
All right.
Yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
so then, is there enough consensus amongst council to direct administration, to direct the attorney to bring us something next meeting for the park?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's,
We can do that.
All right, we'll have it at the next meeting. All right, anything else for Mr. Rothy? Okay, Mr. Downey, you have anything?
I have nothing more this evening, Your Honor.
All right, anything, Mr. Downey? City departments, chief, did you have something tonight?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that tomorrow I finally take delivery of the 2020 police interceptor you authorized back in September. And I have a question. The charger that it's replacing is junk. It's got a blown head gasket and a major electric issue. It has to be towed to Troy, to the company that builds our cars. And they need to take all the police equipment off and then towed back. Would it be a problem if I just sign that car over for Getz Towing, or do you want me to pay the tow bill down, tow bill back, and then put it on auction?
I think I'd sign it over and save the money.
Mhm. I agree.
Mr. Rothy, what are you thinking about that?
The only question I have would be for Mr. Downey, and if council does make a decision to sell property, I believe that needs to be a vote. So if signing it over to the towing company triggers that provision, you would have to vote on this rather than just give chief direction. So I'll
Yeah,
leave that to the attorney.
Yes, I would do it by motion and have a vote on it.
Then I'd make that motion.
I support.
All right, the motion made, supported. Questions or comments from the council or from the public?
I see no questions, Your Honor.
All right, call the roll. Yeah, call the roll, please.
Laporte,
Yes.
McCartney,
Yes.
Watt,
Yes.
Ellery,
Yes.
Kinsfater,
Yes.
Kufa,
yes.
Cedar,
Yes.
carried, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, chief. Thank you, Jim. We'll go to D, authorities, boards, and commissions. Anybody, anything?
Your Honor, before we go to D, I do have a question for Annette, the city clerk, if she can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Will polling locations be open for August primary and again in November for the regular elections?
At this time, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question following that. Why are people getting absentee ballot applications when they haven't asked for them or requested them?
Yeah, I got one today.
I can answer that question. The City of St. Clair maintains a permanent absent voter ballot application list, which means we send out applications to everyone who requested to be on that list. In fact, those applications are ready to be mailed from the St. Clair Clerk's office tomorrow. However, the Secretary of State's office took it upon themselves to mail every other registered voter who is not on that list an application. So residents of St. Clair will receive an application for an absent voter ballot. either from the Secretary of State's office or from the St. Clair City Clerk's office.
So the next question would be, do you have to have a legitimate reason to request an because absentee ballot means I'm not going to be in town to vote. That's the way I look at this. So does a resident or a voter have to have a legitimate reason to request an absentee ballot?
No.
McCartney,
Proposal
I'm sorry.
18-3, voter approved proposal presented no reason absentee voting. So you do not have to have a reason. You complete that application with a signature, return it to the clerk's office. There are several verifications that take place, and then that voter will receive their ballot.
Can you tell me some of the verifications that you would put a voter through to verify that that's their signature?
Yes, the application has several identification facts on it. We verify that against their voter registration file that is through the Secretary of State, which includes a signature. We have signatures for every registered voter on file. So among the verifications is birth date, address, facts of that nature, and then also the signature itself.
Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, just regarding boards, commissions, all of those have been for the last few weeks. We've contacted the chairs of each of those boards and commissions and said, if you want to do meetings, you can please go ahead and do so. And we have our first meeting coming up, I believe it's this week, which is a zoning board of appeals meeting. It will take place in City Hall. So again, for all of you who serve on boards and commissions, they can meet now through June 30th. If it's the will of the border commission, they can meet virtually still. However, I would imagine with the latest relaxing of the state guidelines that occurred earlier today, many of those will choose to occur at City Hall. Just wanted to let council members know that boards and commission meetings are happening again.
All right. Let's go to number 7. We have no unfinished business. Number 8 is approved special events permit. Hope Floats Poker Paddle. Chief.
Yeah, I received a request from Diane Hintz for their annual Hope Floats kayak paddle, and all the paperwork is in, and I've talked to her and Dave Sharkey at the marina, and they can handle social distancing on the water, and he's had some cancellations, so all 3 pavilions are available to social distance on land. So I recommend you approve.
Support.
Motion made, supported. Questions?
Who made the motion, Your Honor?
I did.
Kufa.
Supported by?
Support. Laporte.
Thank you.
Questions from the public?
See no questions, Your Honor.
All right, call the roll, please.
McCartney?
Yes.
Watt?
Yes.
Ellery?
Yes.
Kinsfater?
Yes.
Lupa?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
Thank you. We'll go to number 9, claims and accounts. May 21st, May 28th, 2020.
Hearing no question, I make a motion to approve as presented.
All right, motion made by Laporte, supported by Kinsfater. Questions or comments?
I see no questions, Your Honor.
All right, call the roll, please.
Watt?
Yes.
Ellery?
Yes.
Kinsfater?
Yes.
Kufa?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
McCartney?
Yes.
Cedar?
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
Thank you. We'll go to number 10, public questions and comments. Limit 3 minutes for any non-agenda items and any public comments or questions out there.
Mayor, it's Justin. So first off, thanks for having me here. I was going to come on and talk about some of the social distancing things, but obviously things changed today. So, and Mr. Downey, apologize. I was just trying to help there a few minutes ago. So didn't mean to step into your arena. My apologies there. So I want to thank the city of St. Clair. It's been a difficult 81 days. We're on day 82. So we're going to not count today. Today's been a pretty good day, a positive day. So for those of you who didn't know that we've been at this for 82 days. We're not done. Between Dr. Mercaton and I, that's going to be our new message moving forward is we're not done. We've still got a lot of work to do. The disease is still in our county. It's still in our region. And so we've got to be very careful at this point so that we don't have to go back to what we just came out of. So if you all could help us kind of carry that message in your community and so that we can keep it out of our community as much as possible. This last 2 weeks in St. Clair County, we've got our disease somewhere between 3.5% and 1.2%. So that's really, really good. We're going to look to keep it there. It's probably not feasible that we keep it there, especially now that everybody's going to start moving around. But that's where we are right now. At our high point, we were somewhere about 24% in the disease in our county. So, and that number is probably a little skewed because we were only testing our most sick at the hospitals and at our testing sites. Right now, we're testing about 1,300 people per week, which is really, really good. When we started, we were only testing between 50 and 150 a week. So we're doing much better on testing, which is why we know we've got our levels much, much lower in the county, and that number is probably much better than it was in the beginning. We're really happy with being able to open up the parks and being able to open up the playgrounds for the children and being able to open up Little League. I know that's a big thing in St. Clair. I talked to the Little League directors a couple hours ago this afternoon. So I know Jamie Haslam was pretty excited about having a meeting later on today with his people. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of touch base. Mayor, thanks for allowing me to chat with everybody for a minute. And I also want to be able to take questions if that's allowed. So if anybody has any questions and I'm allowed to answer any, I'm here to answer.
Anybody have anything for Justin?
I got 2 questions for Justin.
Yes, sir.
Those percentages, is that based on people tested or is that based on population?
So it's based on people tested per 1,000. So that's what those percentages are on right now.
And then my second question is, and I don't know, maybe it's not, you're the best one to answer it, but can we open up the city pool?
Absolutely. So you can. That was in the order today. And the health department's going to have some direction probably after our 8:30 meeting tomorrow on that. Mr. Steve Demick is the point of contact on that.
And Tom, is that something, you're still in the rec department, right?
Correct. I don't know where that's going to go, Mitch. It's basically, I think the rec department wants to open the pool. I think the issue is the age of our staff and the pool and the directors that run the pool. We don't have an overabundance of qualified or certified people to run that pool, and I think that was a major concern with the reason to close the pool was the age group of the director and assistant director.
Yeah, because they're still in that upper potentially affected area. Yeah, I get that.
Shouldn't we reach out and
But
try
I
to
will
find
talk to
some?
Tree.
Say it again, John.
I'm saying, should we reach out to try to find somebody? Because I mean, it's important to have the pool accessible to the kids in the summer, especially living on the river.
I totally agree.
Warren, do you want to address this?
I guess administration can talk to Trees, but just trying to pop somebody out of thin air to manage that whole process isn't an easy task. There's so many certifications to go through, and it's more than just a one-person job. Lifeguard. So there's a lot that goes into it. Nobody wants it open more than I do. But I think between administration and myself, I'll put a call on the Trees tomorrow as well and see what her plans are. But I wouldn't look forward to it.
But Tom, they've got the lifeguards. Isn't it just a matter of the supervision with Sue?
I don't know that they do have the lifeguards, John. I don't know that they've got the lifeguards already in place. If they're still available, but it's just more than leaving lifeguards. There's Sue Daniels and Margaret Pauley are a big piece of that.
Well, sure they are, yeah.
Have been for many years, and it's there's a lot that goes into it. But I don't have all the answers. Maybe by next council meeting we will.
Yeah.
Let me let Warren jump in on this, you guys, and
If
he's
I
got
may,
some
you know,
insight.
I appreciate council's eagerness to ask all the questions on playgrounds, on recreation, and everything. Again, these new, basically, these activities are now allowed now. They were not allowed earlier this morning. So it takes time to develop, you know, a balanced and measured response. So it's certainly going to be something we're working on very closely. Trish and I already had some preliminary conversations today. We don't have an answer for you today on how what it's going to look like, but we're going to do our best to give our recreation services back to what people normally would be able to do, of course, with social distancing measures in place.
Welcome to my world, Warren, times 22, my friend.
Yep. Thank you for all you do, Justin.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. And I apologize, we haven't had a chance to get together yet. So,
yes.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you all.
All right, we also have Susan from SEMCOG here. Susan, welcome.
Hi, thank you, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate the time. I have been trying to reach out to various councils and boards throughout the region. We have 174 members, all 7 counties, and that's been a challenge, but a pleasure when I get the opportunity. In this different world right now, SEMCOG has continued working and trying to do our best to help our members. I want to start by saying we value your membership. Normally by this time in a given year, I would have met with some of you for a member visit. In the past, I've met with Mike Booth and Mr. Laporte and Annette. I know that I introduced myself via email to Warren some time ago, so we haven't really met, but looking forward to that opportunity in the future in any way, shape, or form. I just wanted to mention that while all this has been going on, things have been crazy. We understand how busy our members are. We have conducted various webinars, created public service announcements. We continue to do so, many of which have been related to the situation we're in. I want everyone to know that those webinars have been archived on our website. Our PSAs are available for use off of your website. Feel free to link to those. I can specifically tell you where to find those. Please look to Regional Update that you're receiving every 2 weeks in your inbox. Most of you are receiving that to know what upcoming webinars are actually going on. One tool I wanted to mention, and it is relevant to the here and now, is the census, which is important. And we have launched a new tool called our Census Self-Response Tool, our data and map section. And that is a tool where communities can go and look at the actual response rates by county, community, and census block. And just an FYI that Michigan itself has done a great job nationally with the census responses, and Southeast Michigan is really shining with the response rates as well. So that's just a tool that St. Clair can go and check out the rates if you're interested in doing that. We are also following legislation, which is COVID related and goes beyond that as usual. And Bill Anderson and Mike Spence on our team are following legislation very closely, including revenue sharing and the CARES Act, et cetera. So if you're ever interested in talking to them, they're just a phone call away and would be happy to talk to any of you about any legislation, which I know MML, of course, is following as well, but just wanted to let you know that we're following a lot of legislation very closely. We continue to get funding. We continue to offer our grant opportunities and funding sources moving on. Some things may be a little slowed with things going on right now, other things, but we will continue to keep our members updated and continue those opportunities the best we can. So I really look forward to talking with you in the future and hopefully having a more in-depth member visit. And I want to thank you for the opportunity tonight to at least touch base and say hello to you from SEMCOG. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have time for a question? Suzanne, do you have time for a question?
I certainly do.
Oh, good. Thank you. Hey, due to the fact that we're 80 some days into this thing, and I'm sure that state revenues have been hit hard, does SEMCOG see the state government, the trickle-down effect coming down to local government? And if so, that SEMCOG believe that local government should be sending off letters signed by city councils to the state government saying, look, we understand the situation, but we understand our situation?
Great question. That has been brought up with by other members. And granted, it's been these 80 some days, but all of a sudden we're here, and a lot of communities have been asking that. So Kathleen Lamont, our executive director, is now thinking about what our next steps are going to be in terms of doing that and relaying those messages, which we've done in the past in different situations. So yes, we will be, we are brainstorming that right now, and very important to us. So we always try to act as quickly as we can, as efficiently. So I definitely will contact Bill and communicate this, this message from you, question from you, and we will include that in any legislative updates coming forward. So you'll hear about it for sure, but I'm making a note of it, Mayor.
All right, thank you, thank you. Anybody else?
What,
Okay,
can I mention one more thing I forgot? I'm sorry.
Sure.
I just wanted to say that given we're a regional agency, I've been sitting in on a lot of meetings, some of which have been member group visits, and I mean that in terms of the Conference of Western Wayne and the Macomb Macro Group, where a lot of communities are coming together and they have that forum, that chat. And there's a lot of information sharing going on right now with opening things up. And I'm by no means trying to step on anybody's toes here with the work they do, but there's a lot of information sharing going on with steps that communities are taking, just neighbors of yours, and around the region. So everyone seems really happy to share that information and to have those chats. And I just get a good vibe for that, a good feeling for that. So I just wanted to let you know that don't hesitate to reach out, which, I know you would do, but just to reiterate that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hearing nothing else, Your Honor, I make a motion to adjourn.
Whoa, slow down.
Laporte?
We're moving on to number 11.
Oh, sorry.
I know you got to work on your clocks, but we got to
There's
do number
still
11.
one member of the public who would wish to speak, Your Honor.
Okay, who's out there in the public?
Mr. Kleeman?
All right.
Yeah, Bill Clinton, South Riverside. I got a question on now that the commissions are going to meet, and I will be there Wednesday for the ZBA meeting, and what precautions are the city going to take for my safety and anybody else that wants to attend the meeting?
Sure, excellent question. The council chambers has been vacant for the last 3 months, so very minimal activity. Very few humans have entered that space to begin with. We are going to be wiping, all the surfaces down. The chairs are going to be spaced appropriately apart. We are going to ask everybody wears a mask, and we do have masks on hand for those who may not have their own. So those are some of the precautions that's being taken. Mr. Clayman.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
I see no comments from the public, Your Honor.
All right, we're going number 11 is mayor and city council members' announcements. I'm going to direct one question to Member Kinsfider. Do you want to tell us a little about what's happening down at the golf course?
I was going to bring that up, but thanks, Your Honor. I had the pleasure to play golf last week, and I just want to compliment Bob Beath and his crew down there. It's the nicest I've seen that course, and it's been years since I've seen it that nice. And they're doing a great job, and to all the people out there, if you're golfers, get down there and enjoy that course because it's nice.
Good, that's good news.
Your Honor, I have a question for Superintendent Rothie.
Yeah.
I forgot to ask you earlier, Warren. Hang on a minute, I lost. It's when you are you planning on the tours for the water plant soon?
Yes. So I am inviting members of council to come to our water plants to look at some of the need for improvements firsthand, and that is entirely on the council members to decide when that works for them and when they can come. Obviously, we're not doing it as a special meeting where all of you show up at the same time and have a quorum. That's not the intent. The intent is we're going to have our workshop where you will have a quorum. We'll have Barry Rubel there to go over the improvements on the 15th. But if members of council still want a firsthand experience, again, that's something that we are offering to members of council.
Don't anybody schedule for this Thursday, because right now me and Laporte and LaButch are going at 4:00 Thursday. That any more would be too many. So that slot's taken if anybody wants to wonder about that. Our next meeting, June 15th, will be in council's chambers to everyone.
Good.
We all have to have a mask, right?
I will, I'll say this right now, I will not be wearing a mask at the next meeting.
Me neither.
Otherwise, I won't be there.
So,
Just so we're clear on that.
I'll direct that to Mr. Downey, I guess. We
He's
can't hear you.
yeah,
Can't hear you, Mr. Downey.
we have to go in
I'm sorry,
remotely.
we can have a discussion about that after the meeting.
Okay.
There's some legal issues on that.
All right. Does anybody else have anything? All right, Mr. Laporte, now.
Sorry, Your Honor. Hearing nothing else, I make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Or
Do we need to call a roll to adjourn?
Yes.
Yes.
Call the roll.
Ellery,
yes.
Kinsfater,
Yes.
Koopa,
Yes.
Laporte,
Yes.
McCartney,
Yeah.
Watt,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
carried, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Have a good night, everyone. Be safe.